Imagine standing in the vast sun-scorched desert of Egypt. The wind whispers secrets of millennia past, carrying grains of sand. Before you stands a structure unlike any other, a colossal staircase reaching towards the heavens. This is not one of the smooth-sided pyramids of Giza. This is older, the Pyramid of Djoser, a revolutionary leap in human history and architecture. In the Saqqara necropolis, it is a silent storyteller. Weathered stones tell a tale of ambition and innovation. For nearly 4,700 years it has stood, a reminder of the Third Dynasty. It marks the moment when massive stone building became possible. Before this, royal tombs were simple mastabas of mud brick. Djoser shattered that tradition and created the blueprint for future pyramids. It wasn't just a tomb, it was a resurrection machine. 6 stepped layers rise over 60 meters, a ladder to the celestial realm. The structure was the heart of a vast complex dedicated to the king's eternal life. Temples, courtyards, dummy buildings, and for the first time, an entire complex built entirely of stone. Now we begin our journey back in time. We'll uncover the story of this monument. We'll explore the pharaoh with a grand vision. We'll explore the genius architect who brought it to life. We'll delve into the secrets of construction. We'll examine the challenges faced by its builders. We'll trace the legacy it left behind. The Pyramid of Djoser is the starting point of the Pyramid Age, the grandparent of all pyramids. Its story, audacious dreams realized in stone, still captivating us today. Before the Pyramid of Djoser pierced the Egyptian sky, the final resting places of pharaohs were markedly different. For centuries, kings were buried in mastabas, rectangular, flat-roof structures made primarily of sun-dried mud bricks. The word mastaba is Arabic for stone bench, and these tombs resembled just that, large, simple benches sitting upon the desert sand. They were functional, protecting the deceased and their worldly possessions for the afterlife. However, they lacked the monumental scale and divine symbolism that would come to define the pyramids. Below the mastaba's superstructure, a deep shaft led to a subterranean burial chamber where the pharaoh was laid to rest. The structure above ground contained chapels and rooms for offerings, allowing the living to honor the king's spirit. While some mastabas were impressive, they were bound by the limitations of their materials. Mud brick was perishable, susceptible to erosion and decay over time. The dream of a truly eternal home had not yet been fully realized in stone. The transition to a towering stone pyramid was not just architectural evolution, it was a profound ideological shift. It changed how Egyptians viewed the king's connection to the gods. The pharaoh was seen as a divine intermediary, a link between the earthly and the celestial. A grander, more permanent tomb was needed to reflect this elevated status and aid the king's ascent to the stars. The idea of stacking mastabas to create a stairway was both literal and symbolic. This required a bold vision and mastery of new technologies and organization. Building with massive stone blocks was a different challenge than mud bricks. It demanded a large, skilled workforce, sophisticated quarrying techniques, and an unprecedented level of planning and engineering. The construction of Djoser's pyramid was a national project, mobilizing resources across the kingdom. It forever altered Egyptian architecture and set a new standard for royal monuments. The story of the first pyramid begins with 2 remarkable individuals, a visionary pharaoh and his brilliant architect. The pharaoh was Nefertari, more famously known as Djoser. He ruled around 2670 BCE as the first king of the Third Dynasty. Djoser's reign brought stability and prosperity. It marked the start of the Old Kingdom, a golden age of achievement. Djoser wanted a tomb to secure his afterlife and to proclaim his divine authority on earth. To build it, he turned to his trusted official, Imhotep. Imhotep was no ordinary courtier, a true polymath serving as Djoser's vizier, chief minister, and as high priest of Ra at Heliopolis. He was skilled in medicine, writing, and administration. But his architectural talent is what made him immortal. Imhotep is considered the first named architect in history. He conceived and executed the plan for the world's first large-scale stone building. The original idea was conventional, a large, square mastaba built of stone instead of mud brick. That was already innovative, far more durable and impressive. But Imhotep didn't stop there. The project evolved through stages. He enlarged the mastaba, then began stacking smaller mastabas on top. Layer after layer, each smaller than the one below, until a six-stepped pyramid emerged. Archaeologists can still trace that evolution today. It shows experimentation and daring innovation. Imhotep was inventing monumental stone architecture as he worked, solving engineering problems with no precedent. The result was more than a tomb, a landmark of human ingenuity. A structure that seemed to reach for the divine, cementing the legacies of Djoser, the king, and Imhotep, the genius who made it real. The construction of the Step Pyramid began with a monumental task, sourcing and moving an immense quantity of stone. The primary material for the core was locally quarried limestone, but a much finer, higher quality white limestone was chosen for the outer casing. This brilliant white stone came from Tura, on the opposite bank of the Nile. Tura limestone was prized for purity and brightness. It would make the pyramid gleam. Transporting these massive blocks, some weighing several tons, was a formidable challenge. Egyptians used wooden sledges dragged by teams of men. To reduce friction, workers likely wetted the sand in front of the sledge. The scale is difficult to comprehend. It's estimated about 850,000 tons of stone were moved. It was an unprecedented logistical feat overseen by Imhotep. He coordinated the quarrying teams, the boat crews on the Nile, and the hundreds of labourers dragging the sledges across the sand. Once the stone arrived at Saqqara, the next great challenge was to lift it into place. For the lower levels, workers likely used earthen ramps or rubble ramps, which they built up against the side of the structure. A key innovation was the method of laying the stones. Instead of horizontal courses, the builders laid them in courses that were angled inwards, leaning against a central core. This technique, known as accretion, added stability. While direct evidence is scarce, it is theorized that the builders may have used short, straight ramps for the lower levels and perhaps a more sophisticated system of spiraling ramps for the upper tiers. Beneath the pyramid, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers was excavated from the living rock, creating a complex subterranean world for the king. This network included the central burial chamber located at the bottom of a 28-metre-deep shaft, as well as galleries for storing funerary goods and a series of rooms decorated with beautiful blue faience tiles meant to represent the king's palace in the afterlife. The builders of the Step Pyramid were not slaves, but skilled Egyptian labourers and craftsmen. Many were likely farmers who worked on the construction project during the annual Nile flood. The construction of the Step Pyramid required a wide range of skills. Quarrymen, boatmen, teams of haulers, stonemasons, toolmakers, engineers, artists and craftsmen, potters and scribes. It was a mobilization of the entire nation's talent. The successful completion of the Step Pyramid was not just an architectural triumph, but also a triumph of human organization. The pyramid was a symbol of national pride, a project built by a nation for its king and its gods. The Step Pyramid was the magnificent centerpiece of a much larger vision, a sprawling 15-hectare complex that served as an eternal city for the spirit of King Djoser. This vast enclosure was surrounded by a massive niched limestone wall that stretched for more than 1.6 kilometers and stood over 10 meters high. It was punctuated by 14 imposing gateways, yet only one of these was a true entrance. The other 13 were false doors, intended for the king's spirit, or car. This single, functional entrance led visitors through a narrow, colonnaded passageway, creating a dramatic, controlled approach, heightening the sense of mystery and reverence. Imhotep designed this space as a stage for eternal royal ceremonies. He created a stone microcosm of Egypt, with buildings representing the administrative centers of Upper and Lower Egypt. This was a powerful political and religious statement. These buildings are remarkable for Imhotep's innovative use of stone to mimic more fragile materials. The columns of the House of the North are carved to resemble papyrus stalks, a symbol of Lower Egypt. The columns of the House of the South are shaped like the single white lily, a symbol of Upper Egypt. Beneath the entire complex, an astonishing network of tunnels, shafts and chambers was carved out of the bedrock. Archaeologists have discovered over 40,000 stone vessels in these tunnels, many inherited from Djoser's ancestors. The most stunning discovery is the blue chambers. The walls are lined with thousands of beautiful blue faience tiles, arranged to imitate reed mat hangings. These chambers were meant to be the pharaoh's eternal palace, a secret, hidden paradise designed to last for all time. The Pyramid of Djoser was more than just a single spectacular achievement. It was a revolutionary prototype that created the blueprint for all pyramids to come. The most significant evolutionary step came with Pharaoh Sneferu. His bent pyramid is a perfect example. The builders started at a steep angle but were forced to change it, likely due to signs of structural instability. Undeterred, Sneferu commissioned a second pyramid nearby, the Red Pyramid. This time they got it right. The world's first successful, true, smooth-sided pyramid. The culmination of this architectural evolution is the Great Pyramid of Giza, built by Khufu. This colossal monument would not have been possible without the lessons learned from Djoser's pyramid. For centuries, its secrets were buried. But one man would redefine our view. French architect and Egyptologist Jean-Philippe Loewe. Beginning in 1926, he painstakingly excavated, studied and reconstructed the complex. More recent discoveries added new chapters. In 2020, after a lengthy restoration, the southern tomb opened to the public for the first time. One remarkable discovery was not a structure but a person. In the subterranean galleries, Loewe found seal impressions of Djoser's name and seal impressions of his vizier, Imhotep. Finding the architect's name alongside the king's confirmed Imhotep's central role. Imhotep's idea of translating organic forms into stone became a standard feature of Egyptian temple architecture. The reverence for Djoser and Imhotep themselves became a significant part of Egypt's cultural legacy. Today, nearly 4,700 years after its construction, the Pyramid of Djoser continues to captivate and inspire. It is the starting point, the origin story of Egypt's most iconic monuments, and a timeless icon of human creativity. It is a monument that tells a story of faith, power, and the extraordinary potential of human ingenuity. A story that continues to resonate with us across nearly 5 millennia, reminding us of the enduring power of a bold dream. Who was the man whose ambitions shaped the dawn of Egypt's Pyramid Age? Djoser, enigmatic king of the Third Dynasty. At the threshold of recorded history, his legacy towers above the sands, yet his life remains shrouded in mystery. Born Nefertari, meaning divine of body, he inherited a kingdom poised for transformation. Likely son of Pharaoh Khafre and Queen Imhotep, ascending around 2670 BCE. His reign broke with the past, launching the Old Kingdom, Egypt's first golden age. Djoser's rule was innovation. He moved the royal necropolis to Saqqara, leaving the old burial ground at Abydos. There he commissioned the Step Pyramid, a monument unlike anything before. Beyond stone, inscriptions show him as a builder, a lawgiver, a living god, protector of the people and holder of divine favour. He led campaigns into Sinai, securing resources and widening Egypt's influence. Central is his partnership with Imhotep, vizier, architect, high priest. Their names appear side by side in inscriptions, a rare sign of trust. Art and inscription show a commanding, pious ruler. Statues from his mortuary complex show serenity and resolve, draped in the seed festival cloak. Subterranean reliefs show him performing rituals for the gods. Legends credit him with averting famine and restoring temples. The famine stela later cements his image as a bringer of abundance. Material evidence, statues, seal impressions, foundation tablets, tangible anchors to his story. Questions remain. How long did he reign? Nearly 30 years, or much less. Founder of the Third Dynasty, or a powerful successor? Father of Sekhemkhet, or predecessor? Still, his impact is clear. He set the pharaonic template, religious authority, military might, the Step Pyramid, tomb, and a statement of divine kingship, prototype for all pyramids to come. Today, Djoser is man and myth, a visionary whose dreams reshaped a civilization, his legacy in stone, sand, and story. The Old Kingdom, often called the Age of the Pyramids, stands as a beacon in the story of civilization. For nearly 5 centuries, from 2686 to 2181 BCE, Egypt flourished under a single, powerful government. This era was marked by extraordinary political stability, as pharaohs ruled as living gods, and the Nile's rhythm brought order to life and death. Monumental pyramids and temples rose from the desert, their white limestone gleaming in the sun, symbols of ambition and divine authority. The heart of the Old Kingdom beat in Memphis, the capital, where a centralized bureaucracy managed resources with precision, grain, gold and labor, enabling feats of construction that still defy belief. It was an age of monumental ambition, and the Step Pyramid at Saqqara was only the beginning. Soon, the great pyramids of Giza would pierce the sky, built by tens of thousands of skilled workers, engineers, masons and artists, each contributing to the pharaoh's immortal legacy. But the Old Kingdom was more than stone and spectacle. It was a vibrant society, alive with artisans carving serene statues, scribes at their scrolls, fishermen casting nets along the Nile, and families feasting by the riverbanks. Faith and artistry flourished, Columns soared like papyrus stalks, tombs shimmered with painted reliefs, and the earliest hieroglyphic texts adorned sacred walls. Advances in mathematics, medicine, and administration set foundations for centuries to come. Here, social order and artistic harmony shaped Egypt and the imagination of the world. The ideals of unity, vision, and innovation were woven into daily life, creating a civilization whose influence would echo through time. Even as the dynasty waned and new powers rose, the ideals forged in this golden age would inspire generations, an enduring legacy carved in stone and memory. The Old Kingdom's influence is seen in divine kingship, social order, and artistic harmony, shaping Egypt and the imagination of the world. Its monuments, inscriptions, and innovations remind us that from unity and vision, civilizations rise and endure. The story of the Old Kingdom is a testament to the enduring power of human creativity and the timeless quest for greatness. Beneath the endless Egyptian sky, the Step Pyramid of Djoser rises from the sands, its ancient tiers watching over the necropolis of Saqqara. Here, in this sacred ground, pharaohs, priests, and visionaries found their eternal rest, surrounded by tombs, temples, and the silent echoes of a civilization's dreams. Saqqara is more than a resting place. It is a living testament to humanity's quest for meaning and immortality. Today, it forms a vital part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site known as Memphis and its necropolis. This designation marks Saqqara and the Step Pyramid as treasures not only of Egypt, but of the entire world. UNESCO's emblem stands as a promise that the wonders of Saqqara will be protected, studied, and cherished for generations yet to come. As visitors walk among these stones, they join a story that spans millennia, a story of innovation, a story of faith, and a story of enduring hope. The Step Pyramid, once the heart of a pharaoh's vision, now stands as a beacon for all humanity. Its preservation is a shared responsibility, a reminder that our past is the foundation for our future. Let us celebrate Saqqara, honor its legacy, and ensure that the wisdom and wonder of ancient Egypt continue to inspire the world, today and forever. Abydos. The very name evokes a sense of mystery and ancient power, a place where history and myth intertwine. Located on the west bank of the Nile in Upper Egypt, Abydos is one of the oldest and most important archaeological sites in all of Egypt, a cradle of civilization. For millennia, Abydos has been a place of pilgrimage, a sacred ground where ancient Egyptians came to honor their gods and seek a connection to the afterlife. Abydos was more than just a city. It was a symbol of the eternal cycle of life, death, and resurrection, a testament to the beliefs of an ancient people. Even today, standing among the ruins of its temples and tombs, one can feel the weight of history and the echoes of a civilization long gone, yet still present in spirit. For it was here, in the sands of Abydos, that the story of ancient Egypt began to unfold, a story that continues to captivate the world. Here, pharaohs were laid to rest, their tombs filled with treasures and offerings for the afterlife, ensuring their journey to eternity. And it was here that the cult of Osiris, god of the underworld and rebirth, took root and flourished, shaping the spiritual landscape of ancient Egypt. Abydos was never truly abandoned, its spiritual significance enduring through the ages. Even after its political and economic power waned, it remained a sacred site, a place where pilgrims continued to come to pay homage to Osiris and pray for his blessings, a tradition that persists to this day. Over the centuries, the sands of the desert slowly encroached upon the city, burying its temples and tombs beneath their protective embrace, preserving them for future generations. But the legacy of Abydos lived on, preserved in the myths and legends passed down through generations of Egyptians, a testament to its enduring influence. It was not until the 19th century that archaeologists began to excavate the ruins of Abydos, uncovering its secrets and revealing the splendor of this once great city, a city that had been lost to time. Today, Abydos is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, its temples and tombs a testament to the ingenuity, artistry and enduring beliefs of the ancient Egyptians, a legacy that continues to inspire awe and wonder. Abydos first rose to prominence in the pre-dynastic period around 3100 BC, when Egypt was in its infancy, a time when the foundations of one of the world's greatest civilizations were being laid. It was during this time that the first pharaohs, rulers who united Upper and Lower Egypt under their rule, chose Abydos as their final resting place, marking it as a site of immense importance. They constructed elaborate tombs known as mastabas, which were rectangular structures with flat roofs and sloping sides, built of mud brick and often decorated with colorful paintings and intricate reliefs. These early tombs were not just places of burial, but also symbols of power and authority, reflecting the pharaoh's divine status. They were filled with grave goods, including pottery, jewelry, weapons and even boats, intended to accompany the deceased into the afterlife, ensuring they had everything they needed for their journey. The tombs at Abydos provide us with invaluable insights into the beliefs, rituals and social structures of these early Egyptians, offering a window into their world. One of the most significant discoveries at Abydos was the tomb of King Djoser, one of the earliest pharaohs of the First Dynasty, whose reign marked a pivotal moment in Egyptian history. Djoser's tomb was a large and impressive structure surrounded by subsidiary graves for his family and retainers, indicating his high status and the reverence in which he was held. Inside the tomb, archaeologists discovered fragments of Djoser's funerary equipment, including a fragment of his arm, which had been ripped off and placed in a separate box, a practice that remains a mystery. The presence of such elaborate tombs at Abydos suggests that the city was already a place of great religious significance in the pre-dynastic period, long before the rise of the pharaohs. It was believed to be the burial place of Webwawet, the jackal god of the dead, who was closely associated with the king and the afterlife, guiding the souls of the deceased. The association with Webwawet, combined with the presence of royal tombs, made Abydos a powerful symbol of death and resurrection, a place where the pharaohs could transition to the afterlife and join the company of the gods, ensuring their eternal life and divine status. As Egypt entered the early dynastic period, around 3000 to 2686 BC, Abydos continued to flourish as a necropolis and a center of religious activity. However, it was during this time that a new cult began to emerge in Abydos, one that would eventually overshadow all others, the cult of Osiris. The origins of Osiris are shrouded in mystery, but he is typically depicted as a mummified king, often with green skin symbolizing rebirth, wearing the Atef crown and holding the crook and flail, symbols of kingship and fertility. According to Egyptian mythology, Osiris was a benevolent king who ruled Egypt with his wife Isis. He taught the Egyptians agriculture, law and civilization, but was murdered by his jealous brother, Set. Osiris's death and resurrection became a central myth in Egyptian religion, symbolizing the cycle of life, death and rebirth. His story resonated deeply with the Egyptians, who saw in Osiris a promise of eternal life after death. As the cult of Osiris spread throughout Egypt, Abydos became one of the most important pilgrimage sites in the country, attracting countless devotees. Egyptians from all walks of life flocked to Abydos, hoping to be buried near the god Osiris, or at least to have their names inscribed on stelae or other monuments erected in the sacred precinct. They believed that proximity to Osiris would increase their chances of a favorable judgment in the afterlife. Pilgrims would offer prayers, sacrifices, and votive offerings to Osiris, hoping to gain his favor and ensure their resurrection. The pilgrimage to Abydos was a journey of faith, a chance to connect with the divine and seek solace in the face of death. The spiritual atmosphere of Abydos provided comfort to many. The influx of pilgrims to Abydos had a profound impact on the city. Temples and shrines were built to accommodate the growing number of worshippers. Cenotaphs, symbolic tombs that did not contain the body of the deceased, were constructed by wealthy Egyptians who could not afford to be buried at Abydos but wanted to be symbolically linked to the god. Abydos became a bustling center of religious activity, its streets thronged with priests, pilgrims, and merchants. The pilgrimage to Abydos was more than just a religious duty. It was also an opportunity for social and economic exchange. People from different parts of Egypt would converge on Abydos, bringing with them their customs, beliefs, and goods. The city became a melting pot of Egyptian culture, a place where ideas were shared and traditions were transmitted, enriching the cultural tapestry of Egypt. In ancient Egypt, the concept of eternity was not just a distant dream, but a tangible reality. The Egyptians built their homes, not just for the living, but also for the afterlife. They believed that the soul would continue to live on, needing a place to reside. Tombs were constructed with meticulous care, designed to last forever. These structures were more than just resting places. They were eternal homes for the departed. The walls were adorned with scenes of daily life, ensuring that the deceased could continue their existence in the afterlife. The belief in an eternal house was deeply rooted in their culture. Every detail, from the architecture to the inscriptions, was meant to provide comfort and security for the soul's journey beyond death. This profound connection between life and death, between the temporal and the eternal, is what made ancient Egyptian civilization so unique and enduring. Their houses for eternity stand as a testament to their unwavering faith in the afterlife. The stones of Abydos tell a story that spans millennia. Each carving, each inscription is a testament to the lives and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. It's fascinating to think about how these stones have witnessed the ebb and flow of history, standing silent yet eloquent in their endurance. At Abydos, the gods were honored with grand temples and intricate rituals. The ancient Egyptians believed that Abydos was the gateway to the afterlife, a sacred place where they could connect with the divine. The devotion and reverence shown here reflect a deep spiritual connection that transcended daily life. Beyond the famous temples, Abydos is home to numerous other monuments that add to its rich tapestry. From lesser-known chapels to ancient tombs, each structure contributes to the overall significance of this sacred city. These monuments, though perhaps not as renowned, are equally important in understanding the full scope of Abydos's historical and cultural landscape. The legacy of Abydos is not just in its ancient stones, but in the wealth of knowledge it has provided to modern archaeology. Each discovery here has helped piece together the complex puzzle of Egypt's past. The significance of Abydos continues to grow as new findings shed light on the lives and beliefs of those who once walked these grounds. In many ways, the story of Abydos is still being written, one artifact at a time. Beneath the North African night, the Milky Way flows overhead, a celestial river that shaped the destiny of ancient Egypt. For Egyptians, the stars were more than distant lights. They were guides, gods, and the very clockwork of existence. Along the Nile, they looked to the sky to understand the rhythms of their world. Long before pyramids, Egyptians were astronomers tracking the moon, constellations, and the cycles of the heavens. The sky was a divine map, essential for survival, faith, and prosperity. Their observations predicted the Nile's floods, aligned monuments, and created a remarkably accurate calendar. The heavens offered order and the promise of renewal in a chaotic world. Join us as we journey from ancient stone circles to star-aligned temples, uncovering how practical needs evolved into a spiritual cosmology. The legacy of Egypt's stargazers endures in the way we understand our sky today. In ancient Egypt, science and religion were inseparable. The sky was home to gods, and celestial bodies their manifestations. The sun god Ra, the moon god Thoth, and the immortal stars shaped every aspect of life. Predicting the Nile's flood was vital, and the heliacal rising of Sirius or Sopdet became the cornerstone of their calendar. Egyptians created a 365-day calendar, organizing agriculture, festivals, and construction with cosmic precision. Astronomy was the engine of the state, the heart of religion, and the foundation of the economy. The pharaoh's authority depended on maintaining Ma'at, the cosmic order reflected in the heavens. From farmers to priests, all Egyptians lived by the rhythms of the stars. Understanding this connection unlocks the secrets of Egypt's enduring civilization. Egyptian astronomy began long before the pharaohs in the Green Sahara at Nabta Playa, where ancient people arranged stones to mirror the sky. These megaliths, predating Stonehenge, are among the world's oldest observatories. Over time, astronomical knowledge grew, culminating in the star-aligned Pyramids of Giza, resurrection machines guiding pharaohs to the heavens. Temples like Karnak became cosmic instruments aligned to the solstice sun. Astronomy legitimized power and inspired awe. In Alexandria, Egyptian, Greek, and Babylonian traditions merged, making it the scientific capital of the ancient world. Here, Ptolemy wrote the Almagest, shaping Western astronomy for centuries. Egypt's conversation with the stars left a legacy that endures to this day. To trace Egyptian astronomy's roots, we journey to a time when the Sahara was green and alive. Nomadic herders, guided by the stars, used the sky as compass and calendar. The sun, moon, and constellations dictated migrations and survival. This was not formal science, but deep intuitive knowledge passed through generations. Celestial signals marked the coming rains and changing seasons. As the Sahara dried, these people migrated to the Nile, bringing their cattle, pottery, beliefs, and their astronomical wisdom. This knowledge, forged on the savannah, became foundational for Nile Valley civilization. The sky and earth were one, and understanding both was key to survival. The seeds of Egypt's greatness were sown by these early stargazers. Their legacy shaped the civilization that would rise along the Nile. In Egypt's western desert lies Nabta Playa, once a seasonal lake and gathering place for ancient nomads. Here, lines of standing stones form one of humanity's earliest astronomical instruments. The small stone circle, over 7,000 years old, marked the summer solstice and the arrival of monsoon rains. This celestial clock anchored their year and ensured survival. Larger megaliths align with the rising of stars like Sirius and Orion, creating a map of the night sky. Nabta Playa's alignments predate Stonehenge and the pyramids, revealing a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos. These people organized to quarry and erect massive stones with astronomical precision. Nabta Playa is a silent monument to humanity's first astronomers. It shows our ancient desire to find order in the cosmos. Their achievements laid the groundwork for Egypt's later scientific wonders. Nabta Playa's stones were more than markers. They formed a complex system for tracking celestial cycles. Gates in the central circle aligned with the solstice sunrise, confirming the cosmic order and the coming rains. Beneath the sands, a reverently buried cow hints at the sacred link between cattle, the sky, and later Egyptian deities like Hathor. The alignments allowed for a reliable calendar, essential for planning migrations and rituals. This practical astronomy brought structure to their lives and shaped their future. The stones are evidence of abstract thinking and long-term pattern recognition. Nabta Playa's principles of alignment and calendar making were carried to the Nile Valley. There they evolved into the magnificent science of the pharaohs. The journey from desert stones to cosmic temples began here, under the ancient stars. The story of Nabta Playa and its stargazing inhabitants does not end in the desert. Around 3800 BCE, the climate of North Africa shifted dramatically. The monsoons that had sustained the Green Sahara retreated south, and the land began its final transformation into the arid desert we know today. This profound environmental change forced a great migration. The cattle-herding peoples of the western oases packed up their belongings and moved east towards the one place where life could still flourish on a grand scale, the fertile, well-watered corridor of the Nile River Valley. This was a pivotal moment in human history. These migrants were not primitive hunter-gatherers. They were a people with a rich cultural and intellectual heritage. They brought with them their domesticated cattle, their sophisticated pottery techniques, and their complex social structures. Most importantly, they carried in their collective memory a deep and practical knowledge of the stars. This astronomical legacy, developed over countless generations in the open expanse of the savannah, would now be applied to a new environment with a different set of challenges and opportunities. The rhythm of life was no longer dictated by monsoon rains, but by the annual inundation of the great river. The astronomical skills honed at Nabta Playa proved to be perfectly adaptable. The need to predict the seasonal rains was replaced by the even more critical need to predict the Nile's flood. The ancient observers noticed that the flood arrived each year shortly after the star Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, reappeared at dawn. They applied their calendar-making skills to this new celestial event, creating the 365-day civil calendar that would become a hallmark of Egyptian civilization. The practice of aligning structures to the solstices and key stars, first seen in the desert stone circles, would evolve into the precise orientation of temples and pyramids. Thus, the prehistoric astronomy of the Sahara Desert did not vanish. It was transformed. It became the bedrock upon which the pharaonic state was built. The cattle cults of the desert may have evolved into the worship of celestial deities like Hathor and Nut. The chiefs who could interpret the heavens likely became the first priests and rulers. The legacy of Nabta Playa is therefore profound. It demonstrates that the origins of Egyptian civilization and its extraordinary astronomical achievements lie not just on the banks of the Nile, but in the deeper past of the African continent, among a forgotten people who first learned to read the secrets written in the stars. As cultures unified along the Nile, astronomical knowledge shaped their state. They needed a calendar to govern their agricultural society. Building on traditions, they created a calendar. The early Egyptians turned their gaze to the sun and the stars, seeking a more constant and predictable measure of time for their burgeoning civilization. They observed the solar year was approximately 365 days long. The year was divided into 12 months of 30 days, plus 5 extra days for deities' birthdays. This calendar was consistent, aiding officials in calculations. This system united Egypt under a predictable rhythm. The year reflected the Nile's agricultural cycle. The Egyptians knew their 365-day calendar was not perfect and would slowly drift out of sync with the seasons. They used the star Sirius, which they called Sopdet, to reliably signal the start of the Nile's annual flooding. The helical rising of Sirius almost perfectly coincided with the first signs of the Nile's waters beginning to swell. The star's reappearance was the true New Year's Day, announcing the season of inundation. Her rising was a moment of immense religious significance, celebrated with festivals and rituals. The careful tracking of Sopdet's rising allowed the Egyptians to understand the slow drift of their calendar. The northern celestial pole held profound significance for the ancient Egyptians. They looked north to stars that never set, circling endlessly. These circumpolar stars symbolized eternity. The Egyptians called them the Ikimusek, the unwearying ones, the celestial destiny of the pharaohs. The Great Pyramid was aligned to the North Star, Thuban. A shaft pointed to Thuban, a pathway for the pharaoh's soul to join the imperishable stars. This mapping was critical to their understanding of the cosmos. The North was the realm of eternity. This celestial map gave the Egyptians a sense of place within a divine universe. Dynastic astronomy was about formulating a comprehensive worldview, explaining the universe and humanity's place within it. For the ancient Egyptians, the organizing principle of everything was Ma'at, embodying truth, justice, balance, and cosmic order. Ma'at was the divine force that kept the universe functioning correctly. It ensured the sun would rise, the Nile would flood, and the stars would remain in their courses. The pharaoh was the earthly guarantor of Ma'at. His primary duty was to maintain this divine order. The daily journey of the sun god Ra across the sky, the monthly phases of the moon, and the annual return of Sopdet were all powerful demonstrations that the cosmic order was being upheld. Therefore, the study of astronomy was a sacred duty. This worldview is beautifully illustrated in their artistic representations of the cosmos. The sky was often depicted as the goddess Nut, her body arched over the earth, covered in stars. The earth itself was personified by the god Geb. It was a universe that was alive, a celestial family of gods whose actions created the world the Egyptians experienced every day. In the New Kingdom, temple complexes became models of the cosmos. These temples were astronomical instruments designed to capture sunlight at key moments, creating dramatic light and shadow. The Karnak temple complex exemplifies this, with its core design aligned astronomically. Its main axis aligns with the winter solstice sunrise. On this day, sunlight penetrates the gateway. It travels through halls to illuminate the inner sanctum. This event was powerful religious theatre, demonstrating the presence of the gods. The temples were dynamic machines, revealing a deep understanding of celestial mechanics. The Egyptian practice of celestial alignment was not confined to individual buildings. They thought on a much grander scale. They envisioned the entire landscape of Egypt as a sacred canvas upon which a reflection of the heavens could be drawn. The pyramids and temples were not isolated structures, but were often part of a much larger, interconnected plan. The placement of monuments relative to one another and relative to natural features like the Nile River was often deliberate and carried deep cosmological meaning. They were attempting to create a terrestrial reflection of the celestial world, weaving heaven and earth together into a single, unified whole. One of the most compelling theories in this field is the Orion correlation theory. This hypothesis suggests that the layout of the three main pyramids on the Giza plateau was intentionally designed to mirror the three stars in the belt of the constellation Orion. Not only does the arrangement of the pyramids match the arrangement of the stars, but the relative brightness of the stars seems to be reflected in the relative sizes of the pyramids. Furthermore, the Nile River, flowing alongside the Giza plateau, corresponds to the position of the Milky Way, the celestial river, in the sky relative to the constellation of Orion. This creates a breathtakingly ambitious star map on the ground. This concept of as above, so below was central to the Egyptian worldview. By recreating the pattern of the stars on the land, they were anchoring the divine order of the heavens firmly in their own kingdom. The land of Egypt would thus become a living embodiment of Ma'at, a place of perfect cosmic harmony. This sacred geography reinforced the divine nature of the kingdom and the legitimacy of the pharaoh who ruled over it. Walking through this landscape was like walking through the cosmos itself, with every temple and pyramid serving as a gateway to a specific celestial region or divine power. Whether every alignment was intentional is still debated by scholars, but the evidence for large-scale celestial planning is undeniable. From the solstitial alignments of Karnak to the stellar shafts of Khufu's pyramid, it is clear that the ancient Egyptians possessed a sophisticated, three-dimensional understanding of astronomy. They applied this knowledge not just to tell time or predict floods, but to shape their entire world. They built a civilization that was not just located on the earth, but was a conscious and deliberate reflection of the heavens, a kingdom aligned with the eternal and majestic rhythms of the universe. Within the temples, priests dedicated their lives to the sky. The Imai Unut, or Hour Watchers, were keepers of celestial knowledge. From rooftops they scanned the stars, using star clocks to track the movement of decans. They watched for celestial events, meticulously recording observations to fix dates of festivals. The Hour Watchers ensured celebrations happened at auspicious moments. They interpreted the divine language of the stars, ensuring Egypt navigated time in harmony with the cosmos. The Egyptian fascination with the cosmos extended powerfully into the realm of the dead. The tomb was not simply a final resting place. It was a microcosm of the universe designed to ensure a successful journey in the afterlife. The walls and ceilings of tombs were often decorated with elaborate astronomical scenes. These were functional cosmic maps, celestial guidebooks for the soul. Walking into a tomb is like stepping into another universe. The ceilings are often painted a deep, dark blue, representing the night sky. Upon this celestial canvas are painted the constellations, depicted as gods and goddesses. These images provided a map, allowing the soul to navigate the darkness. They were a practical guide for the afterlife, but they also had a powerful magical function. By depicting the eternal nature of the cosmos, the Egyptians believed they could bestow that same immortality upon the deceased. The daily journey of the sun god Ra was a model for the pharaoh's own resurrection. These tomb paintings provide us with a direct window into the Egyptian understanding of the cosmos. The tomb became a sealed copy of the universe where the cycles of time would play out for eternity. The Temple of Hathor in Dendera features the renowned Dendera Zodiac, a magnificent map of the heavens created around 50 BCE. It represents a fusion of Egyptian astronomy with Greek and Babylonian ideas. The zodiac is a circular bas-relief featuring familiar constellations. It blends traditions, incorporating new knowledge while retaining its unique character. The disc depicts planets as gods sailing in celestial boats. It's a complex clock, calendar, and cosmological diagram. The Dendera zodiac encapsulates the journey of Egyptian stargazing. It reminds us that the sky was a vibrant realm, guiding them in life and death. Egyptian astronomy entered a brilliant final chapter. In 332 BCE, Alexander the Great brought Egypt into the Greek world, founding Alexandria. It became the Hellenistic world's intellectual heart, a multicultural metropolis. Alexandria became a crucible where Egyptian wisdom was reforged with Greek cosmology. Egyptians brought vast observational data and star charts. The Greeks sought mathematical models of the cosmos. Babylonian astronomy added mathematical prowess. Scholars combined Egyptian, Greek, and Babylonian traditions. The Museum and Great Library was a research institute. Scholars like Eratosthenes and Hipparchus worked here. Alexandria amplified Egypt's legacy, preparing it for the future. In the 2nd century CE, long after Alexandria had passed from Greek to Roman rule, the city produced its most celebrated astronomer. His name was Claudius Ptolemy. Though he was a Roman citizen who wrote in Greek, he lived and worked in Alexandria, the inheritor of centuries of accumulated Egyptian, Greek, and Babylonian knowledge. Ptolemy was a polymath, writing on geography, astrology, and music, but his greatest contribution was his monumental work on astronomy. This book, originally called the Mathematical Treatise, would become known to posterity by its Arabic name, the Almagest, meaning the greatest. It was a title it thoroughly deserved. The Almagest was a comprehensive masterpiece. In its 13 books, Ptolemy gathered and synthesized all the astronomical knowledge of his time into a single coherent system. He presented a detailed mathematical model of the universe that could predict the positions of the sun, moon, and planets with remarkable accuracy for its time. His model was geocentric, placing a stationary Earth at the center of the cosmos. To explain the complex and sometimes backward or retrograde motions of the planets, he used an ingenious system of circles on circles, known as deferents and epicycles. It was a complex but workable model that accounted for what observers saw in the sky. Ptolemy's work was not just about theory, it was grounded in observation. He drew heavily on the star catalogue of his predecessor Hipparchus, refining it and adding to it. He included a list of over 1,000 stars organized into 48 constellations, many of which we still recognize today. The Almagest provided tables that allowed users to compute the positions of celestial bodies for any given date. It was a complete astronomical toolkit, a user's manual for the entire universe as it was then understood. Its combination of theoretical elegance and practical utility made it an indispensable text for any serious astronomer. The influence of the Almagest was immense and long-lasting. For more than 1,400 years, it was the foundational text for astronomy in the Byzantine, Islamic and Western European worlds. It was copied, translated, and studied by generations of scholars. It so successfully explained the heavens that it became the undisputed authority, its geocentric model going largely unchallenged until the work of Copernicus in the 16th century. Ptolemy, working in Roman Egypt, had created the final, crowning achievement of ancient astronomy. His work stands as a powerful testament to the intellectual legacy of Alexandria, a city built on Egyptian soil and nurtured by its ancient tradition of looking to the stars. Ancient Egyptian astronomy, from prehistoric stone circles to Ptolemy's models, spans 5,000 years. One lasting gift is the 365-day calendar. Adopted by Julius Caesar, it evolved into the Gregorian calendar. The concept of dividing the day into 24 hours comes from the Egyptian system of tracking day and night. The idea of mapping the sky is a tradition that Egypt perfected. Meticulous records provided data for later Greek and Roman astronomers. The astronomical alignments of the pyramids continue to inspire awe. They remind us of a civilization seeking harmony between earthly existence and the cosmic order. The greatest legacy is the spirit of inquiry, finding meaning in the night sky. From the stones of Nabta to the libraries of Alexandria, ancient Egyptian astronomy reveals humanity's quest for its place in the universe. Etched into Egypt's landscape, from star-aligned pyramids to sun-drenched temples, it wove together agriculture, religion and the state, guided by the stars. Their contributions echo today. Our calendar descends from their 365-day system. The 24-hour day has roots in temple hour watches. The cosmos, as an ordered place, was embodied in Ma'at, the divine order. This culminated in Ptolemy's Almagest, defining the Western universe for a millennium. Knowledge of the pharaohs became the foundation for the future. The light of Sopdet became a beacon of knowledge. When we look up, we see through ancient Egyptian eyes. Their cosmic perspective endures, connecting us to those first stargazers on the Nile. The Ptolemaic kingdom, a vibrant thread in ancient history, shimmered with Greek intellect and Egyptian tradition. For 3 centuries, it stood as a beacon of power in the Mediterranean. It began with Alexander the Great, whose conquests forged new destinies. His arrival in Egypt in 332 BC was seen as liberation, and he was crowned pharaoh. This planted the seeds of a new kingdom. After Alexander's death, his empire fell into chaos. Ptolemy, a trusted commander, secured Egypt, establishing a dynasty that would last nearly 300 years. The Ptolemaic kingdom was born. Ptolemy the Soter established his capital in Alexandria, declaring himself pharaoh. His reign began a remarkable chapter where Greek rulers navigated an ancient land, shaping a unique Greco-Egyptian identity. The Ptolemaic dynasty represented a fascinating and unprecedented cultural experiment. Here, 2 powerful civilizations, those of Greece and Egypt, were brought into direct and continuous contact. The new Greek rulers did not simply impose their own ways upon the land they now controlled. Instead, they engaged in a careful and strategic process of adaptation and synthesis. They understood that to rule Egypt effectively, they needed the support of its people and its powerful priesthood. This led to a remarkable blending of traditions, creating a society that was Hellenistic in its administration and intellectual pursuits, yet profoundly Egyptian in its spiritual and ceremonial life. This fusion was visible everywhere, from the royal court to the smallest farming village. The Ptolemaic pharaohs, including the famous Cleopatra VII, presented themselves in a dual manner. To their Greek-speaking administrators and soldiers, they were Hellenistic monarchs, patrons of art and science. Yet on the walls of the grand temples they constructed, they were depicted in the traditional style of the pharaohs, making offerings to ancient Egyptian gods like Horus, Isis, and Osiris. This duality was the cornerstone of their political strategy, allowing them to maintain authority over a diverse population and project an image of continuity with Egypt's glorious past. Alexandria, the kingdom's magnificent capital, became the ultimate symbol of this new world. It was a cosmopolitan metropolis, home to Greeks, Egyptians, Jews, and people from across the Mediterranean. Its legendary Great Library and Museum turned the city into the intellectual epicenter of the ancient world. Scholars, scientists, philosophers, and poets flocked to its institutions, making groundbreaking discoveries in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The city itself was a masterpiece of Greek urban planning, with wide streets and grand public buildings, yet its heart beat to the rhythm of the Nile, its wealth drawn from the ancient agricultural bounty of the Egyptian countryside. The story of the Ptolemaic kingdom is therefore not just a tale of kings and conquests, but a deeper exploration of cultural interaction. It is the story of how a foreign dynasty successfully integrated into one of the world's oldest civilizations, creating something entirely new in the process. We will journey through its rise to immense power, witness the flourishing of its unique culture, and explore the internal conflicts and external pressures that ultimately led to its dramatic downfall. This is the chronicle of the last pharaohs of Egypt, a dynasty of Greek origin that wrote the final, brilliant chapter of a 3,000-year-old saga before yielding to the rising power of Rome. Alexander the Great's death in 323 BC triggered shockwaves across his empire. The world held its breath. The king was gone, leaving a power vacuum. He had no clear heir. His generals, the Diadochi, carved up the world. Decades of conflict, the wars of the successors, replaced unity. Each general saw himself as the rightful heir. Ptolemy set his sights on Egypt. He knew Egypt was secure and prosperous. It was a land that could sustain itself. Ptolemy moved swiftly to consolidate his control. Ptolemy was determined to thrive, establishing a lasting kingdom. Ptolemy's first and most audacious act was the hijacking of Alexander the Great's funeral cortege. The body of the deified conqueror was being transported back to Macedon for burial, a procession of immense symbolic importance. Perdiccas, the imperial regent, intended to use the burial to legitimize his own authority. However, Ptolemy intercepted the procession in Syria and diverted it to Egypt. This was an act of breathtaking defiance. By bringing Alexander's body to Memphis, and later to a magnificent tomb in Alexandria, Ptolemy was making a powerful statement. He was positioning himself as the true successor, the guardian of Alexander's legacy, and linking his own destiny directly to that of the celebrated hero. This bold move was a direct challenge to Perdiccas and the central authority of the empire, inevitably leading to war. In 321 BC, Perdiccas marched his grand imperial army to the borders of Egypt, determined to crush the defiant satrap. The ensuing conflict was a critical test for Ptolemy. He faced a numerically superior force led by the empire's most powerful man. Yet Ptolemy's strategic genius and the natural defences of the Nile proved decisive. He successfully repelled Perdiccas' attempts to cross the river, inflicting heavy casualties on the invading army. The failure was a humiliation for Perdiccas, whose own troops, demoralized and resentful, assassinated him in his tent. The defeat and death of Perdiccas dramatically altered the political landscape. Ptolemy's victory not only secured his hold on Egypt, but also elevated his status among the other Diadochi. He was no longer just a clever opportunist, he was a proven military commander who had successfully defended his realm against the full might of the empire. He prudently declined the offer to become the new regent, preferring to consolidate his power base in Egypt rather than get entangled in the chaotic politics of the wider empire. This decision showcased his remarkable foresight, a quality that would serve him well in the turbulent decades that followed. Over the next 20 years, Ptolemy continued to navigate the treacherous waters of the successor wars. He engaged in conflicts across the eastern Mediterranean, fighting to secure buffer zones for Egypt in Cyrene, Cyprus, and the Levant. He fought against the formidable Antigonus the One-Eyed, who sought to reunite Alexander's empire under his own rule. Though he suffered occasional setbacks, Ptolemy's primary focus never wavered from his Egyptian stronghold. Each campaign was carefully calculated to protect his core territory and enhance its wealth and security. He was patiently laying the groundwork for a kingdom that would endure for generations to come. By 305 BC, Alexander's unified empire was dead. The most powerful Diadochi, including Ptolemy, declared themselves kings. Ptolemy I became king of Egypt, adopting the title Basileus and the traditional title of Pharaoh. His reign marked the beginning of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Ptolemy defended Rhodes against Demetrius, earning the title Soter, meaning saviour. Ptolemy's rule was characterized by effective administration and a highly centralized bureaucracy. In 285 BC, Ptolemy abdicated, making his son co-regent. He left behind a stable and powerful kingdom. Ptolemy transformed Alexandria into the glittering capital of his kingdom. He founded the Great Library and the Museum, intellectual hubs of the Mediterranean world. The library aimed to collect all the world's knowledge, attracting scholars, scientists, and philosophers. Ptolemy understood that power was about cultural prestige, positioning his kingdom at the forefront of Hellenistic civilization. Ptolemy initiated religious syncretism, promoting the cult of Serapis, a deity for both Greeks and Egyptians. This blending of traditions created a shared cultural framework for their diverse kingdom. Ptolemy I Soter's groundwork came to fruition under his son, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, who ascended to the throne in 283 BC. His reign ushered in the golden age of the Ptolemaic kingdom, peace, prosperity, and cultural brilliance. Philadelphus was a master diplomat, shrewd administrator, and patron of the arts and sciences. He elevated Ptolemaic Egypt to the apex of its power and influence. He married his sister, Arsinoe II, a practice imitating ancient Egyptian tradition to concentrate power within the royal family. Arsinoe was a formidable co-ruler who exerted considerable influence. Centralized control generated staggering revenues strategically deployed for public works like the Pharaohs lighthouse. Philadelphus maintained Egypt's dominance through military strength and diplomacy, solidifying its status as a superpower. The Ptolemaic kingdom reached its greatest territorial extent during the reign of Ptolemy III, Euergetes. Euergetes launched the Third Syrian War to avenge his sister's murder. Ptolemy III led his army deep into enemy territory, reaching as far as Babylon. At its zenith, the Ptolemaic sphere of influence was immense, controlling Egypt, Libya, Cyprus, numerous Aegean islands, and coastal regions in Turkey, Syria, and Lebanon. This maritime empire was sustained by the most powerful navy in the Mediterranean. This political and military dominance was built upon an unparalleled economic foundation, with the agricultural wealth of the Nile Valley at its core. The Ptolemies managed grain production on an industrial scale. Egypt was the breadbasket of the Mediterranean during this golden age. Beyond agriculture, the Ptolemies fostered a vibrant and diverse economy, controlling trade routes for African elephants and luxury goods. Royal monopolies were established over key industries, ensuring that economic activity flowed into the state's coffers. This combination created a level of wealth that was the envy of the ancient world. The Ptolemaic rulers, particularly Philadelphus and Euergetes, were patrons of knowledge, earning them the title of scholar kings. Their most brilliant achievement was the continued expansion of the Great Library and Museum of Alexandria. These institutions were the heart of the Hellenistic intellectual world. The Ptolemies invested vast sums, viewing cultural supremacy as important as military might. They recruited brilliant minds, offering stipends and an environment for research. The library's collection grew to an astonishing size, with the mission to acquire a copy of every significant book ever written. Discoveries from the museum laid foundations for modern science. This flourishing was a direct consequence of the Ptolemies' vision. The Ptolemaic kings understood that by controlling knowledge they enhanced their power. Alexandria was the intellectual capital of the world. During its ascendant period, Alexandria became the quintessential Hellenistic city, a vibrant and cosmopolitan metropolis that was, quite frankly, a world unto itself. Its population swelled with people from every corner of the known world, Greeks who came as soldiers and administrators, Egyptians who flocked to the city for work, a large and influential Jewish community, and traders from Phoenicia, Syria, and beyond. This cultural melting pot created a dynamic and innovative urban environment. Greek was the language of government and high culture, but walking through the city's markets and alleyways, one would have heard a dozen different languages spoken. This diversity fueled an explosion of creativity in art, literature, and philosophy. The city's physical appearance was breathtaking, a testament to the wealth and ambition of its rulers. The Grand Canopic Way, the city's main thoroughfare, was lined with magnificent colonnades, temples, and gymnasia. At one end of the harbour stood the colossal Pharaohs lighthouse, its beacon visible for miles out at sea, a symbol of the city's welcome to the world. At the other end was the Royal Quarter, a vast complex of palaces, gardens and administrative buildings overlooking the water. The city was a masterpiece of urban design, a planned city built to inspire awe and project an image of absolute power and limitless prosperity, the jewel in the Ptolemaic crown. Art and literature flourished in this stimulating environment. Alexandrian poetry, exemplified by figures like Callimachus and Theocritus, developed a new style. It was often learned, witty, and focused on individual emotion and everyday life, a departure from the grand epic traditions of classical Greece. Sculpture and other visual arts also developed a distinct style, blending the idealism of Greek art with a greater degree of realism and, in some cases, incorporating Egyptian motifs. This artistic output was not just for the elite. The city was filled with public art and entertainment, from theatrical performances to religious festivals, creating a rich cultural tapestry for all its inhabitants. This was the Ptolemaic kingdom at its peak, powerful, wealthy, and intellectually supreme. From the military victories of Ptolemy III to the scholarly pursuits in the Great Library, the kingdom projected an aura of confidence and success. Alexandria stood as the ultimate symbol of this achievement, a city that was both the administrative centre of a mighty empire and the cultural capital of the Hellenistic age. It was truly a golden era where the fusion of Greek ingenuity and Egyptian resources created one of the most brilliant civilizations of antiquity. Ptolemaic Egypt had a complex social structure defined by ethnicity and language. The king and Greek nobles were at the top, followed by officials and landowners. Below them were Greek settlers, soldiers, merchants and scholars. The majority were native Egyptians, farmers, labourers and artisans at the bottom. A divided legal system favoured Greeks, causing tension and revolts. Over time, a mixed population emerged through intermarriage and cultural exchange, blurring social lines. Identities transformed in Ptolemaic Egypt's unique cultural environment. Religion in Ptolemaic Egypt saw the fusion of the ancient Egyptian pantheon with Greek deities. The Ptolemaic rulers embraced Egyptian religion, supporting temples and presenting themselves as pharaohs. The god Serapis, combining Osiris, Apis, Bull, Zeus, Hades and Asclepius, was created to appeal to both Greeks and Egyptians. His main cult centre was the Serapeum in Alexandria. Traditional Egyptian gods like Isis flourished, her worship spreading far beyond Egypt. The Ptolemies restored and expanded temples. Egyptians identified their gods with Greek counterparts, creating a shared religious vocabulary. This religious pluralism defined the era, creating a uniquely Greco-Egyptian spiritual world. The Ptolemaic dynasty left behind magnificent temples throughout Upper Egypt. Though Greek rulers, they acted as traditional Egyptian pharaohs, constructing and maintaining houses for the gods. The Ptolemies honored local deities and employed thousands of Egyptians. This demonstrated their piety and commitment to ancient traditions. Built from sandstone, they followed the New Kingdom blueprint, featuring pylons and peristyle courts. Hypostyle halls led to the sanctuary housing the god's statue. Walls displayed reliefs and hieroglyphs depicting the king as pharaoh. The Temple of Horus at Edfu is the most complete surviving temple. It offers a glimpse into the period's architecture and rituals. Another jewel is the Temple of Isis on Philae. Dendera and Kom Ombo temples further showcase the dynasty's building. These temples reveal the Ptolemaic ruler's dual identity. They performed rites practiced for millennia. These temples symbolize the Ptolemaic synthesis. The Ptolemaic kingdom's military was a formidable force, guaranteeing security and projecting influence. The army reflected the kingdom's Greco-Egyptian character. At its core was a professional standing army based on the Macedonian model. One fearsome element was its corps of war elephants. Expeditions captured and trained these beasts, used to break enemy formations. The psychological impact of armored elephants was immense. The army relied on foreign mercenaries and a Greek ruling class. Before the Battle of Raphia, Ptolemy IV recruited native Egyptians. This empowered the Egyptian population, contributing to nationalist sentiment and revolts. The Ptolemaic kingdom's dominance was due to its powerful and technologically advanced navy. Egypt, with its long Mediterranean coastline, was a natural maritime power. Their fleet was the largest and most sophisticated in the Mediterranean, allowing them to control the sea lanes. The Ptolemaic fleet was based in well-equipped harbours, with Alexandria as the main naval base. The ships themselves were marvels of Hellenistic engineering. These were fast, maneuverable warships designed for ramming. The Ptolemies were also famous for constructing gigantic polyremes, colossal warships. These behemoths were powerful tools of propaganda. It protected the vital shipping routes that brought immense wealth into the kingdom. It allowed the Ptolemies to maintain control over their overseas territories. In times of war, the fleet could transport troops and blockade enemy ports. The control of Cyprus in particular was crucial. This naval dominance was a key factor in the Syrian wars against the Seleucid Empire. The Ptolemaic navy allowed Egypt to support its allies and raid enemy coastlines. The Ptolemaic fleet was a clear signal of the kingdom's power. The Ptolemaic kingdom's power was built on the Nile's fertile land and a tightly controlled economy. The Ptolemies boosted agriculture with new crops and irrigation, making Egypt the breadbasket of the Mediterranean. Alexandria and Red Sea ports turned Egypt into a global trade hub, taxing exotic imports and exporting grain. The king monopolized key industries: papyrus, textiles, oil, brewing, mining, ensuring profits flowed straight to the royal treasury. Greek-speaking bureaucrats managed every detail, but this efficiency came at a cost: heavy taxes and labor demands on ordinary Egyptians. This wealth funded armies and monuments, but the system's inequalities would eventually fuel unrest. Under Ptolemy IV, weak leadership and corruption eroded the kingdom's stability. In a desperate move, native Egyptians were armed for the Battle of Raphia, winning the war but awakening their sense of power. Soon after, Upper Egypt erupted in rebellion, breaking away under native pharaohs for nearly 2 decades. The Ptolemies fought to regain control, draining resources and shattering unity. Even after the revolt ended, unrest and banditry plagued the countryside. The government, weakened and divided, struggled to maintain order. The once stable kingdom was now fractured, its foundations crumbling. As Egypt faltered, Rome's power surged across the Mediterranean. Seeking protection, Ptolemy V made Egypt a Roman client state, its independence now a mere illusion. Roman intervention repeatedly saved the dynasty, but at the cost of sovereignty. The infamous Day of Eleusis showed Rome's dominance. A Roman envoy forced a Seleucid king to withdraw from Egypt with a simple ultimatum. Ptolemaic rulers became pawns, their fate decided in the Roman Senate. Internal dynastic feuds played out for Roman amusement and advantage. As Rome descended into civil war, Egypt became a prize for ambitious generals like Caesar and Antony. The kingdom was no longer a player, but the board on which Rome's final struggles unfolded. Cleopatra VII, the last Ptolemy, was brilliant, ambitious, and determined to restore Egypt's glory. She allied with Julius Caesar, securing her throne and bearing him a son, Caesarion. After Caesar's death, she partnered with Mark Antony, ruling the East and dreaming of a new empire. Their alliance provoked Rome. Octavian declared war, painting Cleopatra as a dangerous foreign queen. At Actium, Antony and Cleopatra's forces were crushed. Facing defeat, they took their own lives as Octavian's legions closed in. With their deaths, the Ptolemaic dynasty ended and Egypt became a Roman province. The Ptolemies' rule ended, but their legacy endured. Their temples, Edfu Dendera Philae, preserved Egyptian art and religion. The Library of Alexandria made Egypt the intellectual heart of the ancient world, shaping science and philosophy for centuries. Greek and Egyptian cultures fused, influencing art and spreading the cult of Isis across the Roman Empire. Their administrative system, centralized, efficient and exploitative, became the model for Roman rule. Egypt remained the empire's breadbasket, its wealth and knowledge outliving the dynasty. The Ptolemies left a mark on history, carved in stone and memory. The Ptolemaic dynasty had strange traditions, most notably royal sibling marriage. Beginning with Ptolemy II and his sister Arsinoe II, many Ptolemaic kings married their sisters, imitating the divine marriages in Egyptian mythology. This reinforced the dynasty's status and kept power within the family. Another peculiar aspect was the repetitive use of names like Ptolemy, Cleopatra, or Berenice. Historians use epithets to distinguish them, like Ptolemy II Philadelphus or Ptolemy VIII Euergetes II, nicknamed Potbelly. The Ptolemies also maintained a unique core of war elephants, sourcing smaller African forest elephants. These elephants became a symbol of Ptolemaic power. With Cleopatra's death in 30 BC, Egypt was annexed by Octavian, soon to be Emperor Augustus. The transformation was immediate. Egypt became the Roman emperor's personal property. Its wealth flowed directly into his treasury. Egypt was the empire's breadbasket, its resources under absolute control. Culturally, the Roman era saw a continuation of the Greco-Egyptian synthesis. Mummy portraits flourished, combining Egyptian mummification with Greco-Roman portraiture. Roman emperors were depicted as pharaohs in temples. Egypt's primary role became economic, to produce grain to feed Rome. The land of the pharaohs was now a cog in the machine of Roman power. Our journey through the history of the Ptolemaic kingdom has taken us from its founder, Ptolemy I Soter, to its last queen, Cleopatra VII. For 3 centuries, this Macedonian Greek dynasty ruled over Egypt, presiding over a period of immense wealth and cultural fusion. They built a kingdom that was both a formidable military power and a beacon of Hellenistic civilization. The Ptolemaic pharaohs presented themselves as legitimate successors to Egypt's ancient rulers. Yet the seeds of decay were sown within the dynasty itself, through weak rulers and family rivalries. This internal weakness made the Ptolemaic state vulnerable to the rising power of Rome. With Cleopatra's death, the line of the Ptolemies was extinguished. The last chapter of ancient Egypt had been written by a Greek dynasty. The Ptolemaic kingdom stands as one of history's most compelling experiments in syncretism. The Ptolemies engaged with Egyptian culture, fusing it with their own traditions, visible in their art and religion. The kingdom represents a bridge between Greece and the Near East. The intellectual fire lit in Ptolemaic Alexandria continues to cast a long shadow. It is a tale filled with larger-than-life characters from Ptolemy I to Cleopatra VII. The physical remains of their rule draw millions of visitors. It shows how cultures can collide and merge, creating new identities. Their story continues to fascinate us to this day. Welcome to ancient Egypt, a land of breathtaking pyramids, mystical deities, and unparalleled innovation. But beyond the monuments and mythology lies a fascinating story of how the ancient Egyptians maintained their health and nourished their bodies. Wellness was not just a personal endeavor, but a cultural cornerstone, deeply intertwined with their spiritual beliefs and daily practices. Join us as we explore the remarkable world of Egyptian medicine and diets, uncovering the secrets of their holistic approach to well-being. The ancient Egyptians were pioneers of medicine, combining natural remedies with spiritual practices. Their medical knowledge evolved over millennia, influenced by their observations of nature and the human body. They documented their knowledge in papyri, such as the Ebers papyrus, which contains over 700 remedies and treatments, showcasing their extensive understanding of medicinal plants and their applications. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, one of the earliest known surgical manuals, highlights their advanced surgical techniques and anatomical knowledge. These texts reveal an intricate understanding of the human body and diseases developed through centuries of practice and study. Temples dedicated to Imhotep were not only places of worship, but also centers for healing, reflecting the integration of medicine and religion in their culture. These sanctuaries offered treatments that combined prayers, rituals, and practical remedies, evolving into sophisticated centers of medical practice. This holistic approach to health, balancing the physical and spiritual realms, was a cornerstone of ancient Egyptian medicine, influencing practices for generations. The ancient Egyptians relied on the natural world for healing. Honey was prized for its antiseptic properties and used to treat wounds, while garlic was a common remedy for heart health and stamina. Willow bark, a natural source of salicylic acid, was used to alleviate pain, foreshadowing the development of aspirin thousands of years later. They also excelled in treating physical injuries. Splints made from reeds and bandages soaked in medicinal oils were used to set fractures. For infections, they employed antiseptic poultices made of resin, honey, and even copper salts, which have antibacterial properties. Dental health was a significant concern. The Egyptians used tooth powders made from crushed eggshells and ash to clean their teeth, though they faced challenges due to the abrasive nature of their bread, which wore down enamel over time. Aloe vera was another versatile remedy, used to soothe skin irritations and burns. Poppy seeds were utilized for their sedative properties, helping to relieve pain and induce sleep. Juniper berries and their oil were used to treat digestive issues and as a diuretic. Castor oil was a common laxative, aiding in digestive health and relieving constipation. A balanced diet was central to Egyptian life. Bread and beer were staples, providing carbohydrates and essential nutrients. Bread was made from emmer wheat or barley, and beer was brewed from the same grains, sometimes flavored with dates or herbs for added nutrition. Their meals included vegetables such as onions, leeks, and garlic, which were rich in vitamins and believed to have medicinal benefits. Fruits like figs, dates, and melons were common, adding natural sweetness and essential hydration to their diet. Fish from the Nile was an important protein source, supplemented by poultry and eggs. While red meat was reserved for the wealthy or special occasions, ordinary Egyptians had access to lentils, chickpeas, and other legumes for protein. Their reliance on whole grains made their diet high in fiber, which supported digestive health. However, the sand and grit from grinding flour often led to severe dental wear, causing pain and infections. Nuts and seeds such as almonds, sesame seeds and flax seeds were also part of their diet, providing healthy fats and additional protein. Dairy products like cheese and milk were consumed, offering calcium and other essential nutrients for bone health. Herbs and spices, including coriander, cumin and fenugreek, were used to flavor their food and were believed to have health benefits. Honey was a natural sweetener and was also used for its medicinal properties, adding both flavor and health benefits to their diet. The Nile River was the heart of Egyptian life. Its annual floods brought fertile silt, making agriculture possible. Crops like wheat, barley, flax and vegetables thrived along its banks, ensuring a steady food supply. The river also provided medicinal resources. Papyrus was not only used for writing, but also as material for wound dressings. Plants like lotus flowers and water reeds were incorporated into remedies for ailments, ranging from skin conditions to digestive disorders. The cycle of planting and harvesting was closely tied to the Nile's rhythm. This abundance allowed the Egyptians to experiment with a wide range of ingredients for both sustenance and healing. The Nile was also a vital source of fish, which was a key protein in the Egyptian diet. Advanced irrigation techniques allowed Egyptians to maximize their agricultural output. Medical knowledge was often recorded on papyrus, ensuring the transmission of healing practices across generations. The legacy of ancient Egyptian wellness lives on. Many of their remedies, like honey for wounds and herbal teas for digestion, are still valued today. Modern herbal medicine and essential oils also draw from ancient practices. Their understanding of nutrition and the connection between diet and health was far ahead of its time. Today's Mediterranean diet and healthy eating trends echo their principles. Their approach to wellness reflected their reverence for balance, or ma'at, the harmony that governed all aspects of life. This balance is mirrored in modern wellness practices like yoga and meditation. From the food they ate to the medicines they crafted, the ancient Egyptians demonstrated a profound connection to the world around them. This connection continues in today's natural remedies and farm-to-table movements. Beyond their renowned remedies and diet, the ancient Egyptians also practiced surgery with remarkable skill. They employed a variety of tools, such as scalpels, forceps and probes, many of which have been discovered in tombs, showcasing their advanced understanding of medical procedures. Surgical techniques included trepanation, where holes were drilled into the skull to treat head injuries or illnesses, and the use of sutures made from plant fibers or animal sinews to close wounds. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, a medical text dating back to around 1600 BCE, provides detailed descriptions of these procedures, highlighting the Egyptians' systematic approach to surgery. They also practiced dentistry, extracting teeth and treating dental abscesses with precision. The combination of surgical skill and their vast knowledge of medicinal plants allowed them to perform complex procedures while minimizing pain and infection risks. The ancient Egyptians' contributions to surgery laid the groundwork for future medical advancements, demonstrating their ingenuity and dedication to the well-being of their people. In summary, the ancient Egyptians excelled in various aspects of wellness, from their innovative surgical practices and advanced medical tools to their comprehensive understanding of medicinal plants and balanced diets. Their holistic approach to health and medicine not only ensured the well-being of their people, but also laid a strong foundation for future generations to build upon. In ancient Egypt, medicine was deeply intertwined with magic and religion. Illnesses were believed to be caused by supernatural forces, requiring both medical knowledge and spiritual intervention. Priests, skilled healers, performed rituals to appease gods and expel spirits. Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess, was revered in medicine. Her priests channeled her power through elaborate ceremonies. Thoth, god of wisdom, bestowed medical knowledge. Amulets and charms protected and aided recovery. Inscribed with sacred texts, they invoked divine protection. The Ebers papyrus blends spells and medical treatments, The heart was seen as the center of thought and health. During mummification, the heart was carefully preserved. Magic and religion ensured holistic well-being. This integration highlights the complexity of ancient Egyptian society and their understanding of the human condition. The diet in ancient Egypt varied significantly between social classes, reflecting wealth and status. The wealthy enjoyed diverse meals with meats, fish, fruits and vegetables. Bread and beer were staples, but quality varied by class. Commoners had simpler diets, mainly bread, beer and vegetables. Meat was a rare luxury for the working class. The Nile's bounty ensured basic foodstuffs for all. Feasts showcased wealth and reinforced social bonds. Food was a marker of status and cultural expression. Ancient Egyptian medicine was advanced and profoundly influential on later civilizations. Their knowledge of herbal remedies, surgical techniques and holistic health laid the groundwork for future practices. The Greeks adopted many Egyptian practices, integrating them into their own medical theories. Hippocrates drew inspiration from Egyptian medical texts. The Romans expanded upon Egyptian medical knowledge. Galen referenced Egyptian practices in his works. Egyptian medical papyri influenced both the ancient world and Renaissance scholars. Their emphasis on mind, body and spirit echoes in modern holistic medicine. The legacy of ancient Egyptian medicine continues to inspire contemporary practices. Understanding their influence provides a broader perspective on medical evolution. It highlights the importance of preserving and learning from ancient wisdom. Thank you for joining us on this journey into their remarkable world. Stay tuned for more explorations of the past. Explore more about ancient Egypt in our next episode. Like, share and subscribe to delve deeper into the mysteries of history. Ancient Egypt, a land of pharaohs, pyramids and powerful queens. Among them, Nefertari stands out. She was the great royal wife of Ramses II. Her name echoes through time. She is considered one of Egypt's most significant queens. Her reign marked a period of immense cultural and architectural flourishing. Her legacy is intertwined with her husband's. She played a prominent role in shaping ancient Egyptian history. Her story is one of power, beauty and mystery. We will uncover the mysteries surrounding her origins, story, and we will examine the architectural marvels dedicated to her. Join us on this journey as we unravel the story of Nefertari, a story that continues to intrigue us centuries later. Nefertari, a name that evokes beauty, power and mystery in the ancient Egyptian language. Her name holds a profound meaning. It translates to beautiful companion, or perhaps more intriguingly, the most beautiful of them all. This name was not merely a title. It reflected Nefertari's captivating presence. It spoke to her elevated status as the great royal wife of Ramses II. Her name was carefully chosen. It was meant to convey her significance. It also highlighted her role in the royal court. The Egyptians believed in the power of names. They believed a name could influence a person's destiny. Nefertari's name, therefore, suggests a life destined for beauty, destined for influence, destined for greatness. Her name echoed through the halls of power. It served as a constant reminder of her enduring legacy. Nefertari's name wasn't simply symbolic. It was a reflection of her physical beauty. Ancient Egyptian art depicts her with striking features. She had large almond-shaped eyes. She had a serene, almost ethereal expression. Her images adorn the walls of her tomb in the Valley of the Queens. She is often depicted alongside Ramses II. These images show her grace, they show her elegance, they show her importance as the king's consort. The colours used in these depictions are significant. They were carefully chosen to enhance her beauty. She is often shown with dark, kohl-rimmed eyes. These images serve as a testament to Nefertari's captivating presence. They help us understand why her name became synonymous with beauty itself. Nefertari's name often appears alongside epithets. These epithets provide further insights into her character. One such epithet was beloved of Mut. Mut was a powerful goddess. She was associated with motherhood. She was associated with protection. She was also associated with kingship. This epithet suggests Nefertari enjoyed a special connection with this important deity. It implies she possessed qualities that were admired by the goddess. These qualities might have included grace, compassion, and wisdom. The epithet beloved of Mut also highlights Nefertari's religious piety. It emphasizes her role as a link between the pharaoh and the divine. This role was crucial in maintaining order. It also maintained prosperity within the kingdom. Nefertari's name continues to resonate thousands of years after her death. It has become synonymous with ancient Egyptian beauty, power, and intrigue. Her story, though shrouded in mystery, continues to fascinate historians and archaeologists. Her name graces museums around the world. It adorns books, documentaries, and countless works of art. Nefertari's legacy extends far beyond the confines of ancient Egypt. She has become a symbol of feminine power and grace. Her story serves as a reminder of the enduring allure of ancient Egypt. It reminds us of the powerful women who shaped this civilization. Nefertari's name will forever be etched in the annals of history. Nefertari's origins remain shrouded in mystery. Her parentage, a subject of much speculation, is unknown. No definitive records exist to shed light on her family background. This lack of information only adds to her enigmatic aura. The sands of time have obscured much of ancient Egyptian history. Royal records were sometimes incomplete or deliberately altered for political purposes. It's possible that Nefertari's lineage was intentionally erased, or perhaps the records were lost to the ravages of time. This absence of concrete evidence has fueled numerous theories and interpretations. Scholars have pored over fragmented inscriptions and monuments, searching for clues to her ancestry. Yet Nefertari's origins remain an unresolved puzzle. Despite the lack of definitive proof, certain theories hold more weight than others. Some scholars believe Nefertari came from a noble family. This theory is based on her elevated status and the grandeur of her tomb. It's unlikely that a woman of humble origins would have been bestowed with such honours. Her marriage to Ramses II further supports this notion. Ramses II, known for his ambition and desire to solidify his power, would have sought a wife of noble lineage, a wife who could enhance his own prestige and legitimacy. The opulence of her tomb suggests a woman of immense wealth and influence. While her exact lineage remains a mystery, the evidence suggests a woman born into privilege, a woman whose influence extended far beyond the confines of the royal palace. Adding to the intrigue, some scholars propose a connection between Nefertari and the previous ruling dynasty, the 18th dynasty. This theory centers around a possible familial link to Pharaoh I, Tutankhamun's successor. This theory stems from the discovery of a ring bearing A's cartouche in the tomb of Nefertari's eldest son, Amun-Hotep. While this doesn't confirm a direct lineage, it hints at a possible connection. Perhaps Nefertari was a distant relative of A or his wife. This potential link to the 18th dynasty is tantalizing. It suggests a lineage steeped in power, intrigue, and the legacy of some of Egypt's most renowned rulers. However, without concrete evidence, this theory remains speculative. It's a piece of the puzzle that may never be fully understood. Despite the lack of concrete answers, the mystery surrounding Nefertari's origins doesn't diminish her significance. Instead, it adds to her allure. She stands as a testament to the enduring power of ancient Egypt to captivate our imaginations. Her legacy extends beyond her lineage. She was a powerful queen, she was a devoted wife, she was a patron of the arts, she left an indelible mark on Egyptian history. The mystery of her origins only adds to the richness of her story. It reminds us that history is not always clear-cut. Deep in the heart of Nubia, on the banks of the Nile, stands a testament to love and devotion. Carved into the face of a mountain, the Temple of Abu Simbel is a marvel of ancient Egyptian architecture. It honors Ramses II and his great royal wife Nefertari. The smaller temple is dedicated to Nefertari and the goddess Hathor. This dedication highlights Nefertari's status and influence. The Temple of Abu Simbel is not just a religious monument. It's also a testament to Ramses II's deep affection for Nefertari. Inscriptions inside the temple declare his love for her in no uncertain terms. The colossal statues of Nefertari that grace the temple's facade are another indication of her importance. These statues, equal in size to those of Ramses II himself, depict her wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. This signifies her status as queen and co-ruler alongside her husband. Inside the temple, the walls are adorned with vibrant paintings that depict scenes from Nefertari's life. These images offer a glimpse into the life of a queen who was both powerful and deeply loved. The Temple of Abu Simbel faced a significant threat in the 20th century. The construction of the Aswan High Dam put the entire complex at risk of being submerged beneath the rising waters of Lake Nasser. In a remarkable feat of engineering and international collaboration, UNESCO launched a campaign to save Abu Simbel. Between 1964 and 1968, the entire temple complex was carefully dismantled, moved block by block, and reconstructed on higher ground. This incredible undertaking ensured that future generations could continue to marvel at the splendor of Abu Simbel. Today, the Temple of Abu Simbel stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It attracts visitors from around the globe who come to witness its grandeur, its beauty, and the enduring love story it represents. In the Valley of the Queens lies a tomb as breathtaking as the queen it houses. This is the final resting place of Nefertari, the great royal wife of Ramses II. Unlike other tombs, Nefertari's remained relatively intact for centuries. It offers a rare glimpse into ancient Egyptian beliefs and rituals. The vibrant paintings bring the tomb to life. Every detail speaks of the high regard for Nefertari. It testifies to Ramses II's love and devotion. The paintings within Nefertari's tomb guide us through her journey into the afterlife. We see her being led by Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming, towards the Hall of Two Truths. Here, her heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If her heart was found to be pure, lighter than the feather, she would be granted access to the afterlife. She would then join Osiris, the god of the underworld, in eternal paradise. The paintings depict this moment of judgment with palpable tension and hope. Beyond the Hall of Two Truths, the tomb opens up into a series of chambers, each more elaborately decorated than the last. We see Nefertari making offerings to various deities, her piety and devotion evident in every gesture. These scenes aren't merely decorative. They were meant to magically provide Nefertari with everything she would need in the afterlife. Sadly, Nefertari's tomb, despite its grandeur, couldn't protect her remains from the passage of time and the hands of opportunistic robbers. Her mummy, though initially interred with a wealth of treasures, was disturbed in antiquity. Only fragments of her funerary goods were recovered when the tomb was rediscovered in 1904 by Italian archaeologist Ernesto Schiaparelli. Despite the loss and the ravages of time, the tomb of Nefertari remains a treasure trove of information for Egyptologists. The vibrant paintings, the hieroglyphic inscriptions, the layout of the tomb itself, all offer invaluable insights into ancient Egyptian funerary beliefs, religious practices, and artistic achievements. Nefertari's tomb has become a monument to her memory, a testament to the love of a king, the skill of ancient artisans, and the enduring fascination with ancient Egypt. Nefertari's story began in the mists of time, her origins lost to the sands of history. She emerged to become one of ancient Egypt's most celebrated queens. Her name, linked with beauty, grace and power, echoes through the millennia. As the great royal wife of Ramses II, she played a pivotal role in shaping his reign. The monuments dedicated to her, from Abu Simbel to her tomb in the Valley of the Queens, stand as testaments to the love and admiration she inspired. These structures offer us a glimpse into the opulence and grandeur of her time. Nefertari was a woman of substance. Her tomb inscriptions speak of her intelligence, compassion and devotion. Nefertari's story reminds us that behind every great pharaoh stood an even greater queen. She challenged the traditional image of queens as passive figures. Her legacy continues to captivate us today. Her name graces museums and books, her image in art and culture. She remains an icon of ancient Egypt. Her story is a testament to love, devotion, and the human spirit. My love is unique. No one can rival her, for she is the most beautiful woman alive. Just by passing, she has stolen my heart. Egypt, ancient, storied, and for centuries ruled by the Greek Ptolemies, stood as a beacon of culture and power. Alexandria, its capital, was famed for its library and lighthouse, a hub of knowledge and trade. But the dynasty's last ruler, Cleopatra VII, was different. She embraced Egyptian language and religion, presenting herself as the goddess Isis. A shrewd leader, Cleopatra fought to keep Egypt independent as the Ptolemaic Golden Age faded. Rome's grip on Egypt tightened gradually, turning the Ptolemies into dependent clients. Cleopatra, recognizing Rome's dominance, forged alliances with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony, hoping to secure Egypt's future. Their partnership, both romantic and political, challenged Rome's new leader, Octavian, setting the stage for a final confrontation. Rome itself was in turmoil. The Republic, overwhelmed by its own expansion, was torn by social strife and civil war. Ambitious generals like Marius, Sulla and Pompey vied for power, eroding old Republican values and paving the way for warlords to dominate the political landscape. The assassination of Julius Caesar plunged Rome into chaos, leading to the rise of the Second Triumvirate, Octavian, Antony and Lepidus, who divided the Roman world among themselves. Antony took the east and soon allied with Cleopatra, drawn by her resources and charisma. Their alliance, both strategic and passionate, aimed to secure their power, but would ultimately provoke Rome's wrath and set the stage for a final confrontation. The showdown came at Actium in 31 BC. Antony and Cleopatra's fleet was outmaneuvered by Octavian's admiral Agrippa. Cleopatra's sudden retreat led Antony to abandon the fight, sealing their defeat. Their dream of an Eastern empire collapsed, and Egypt's fate was sealed. Octavian, now Augustus, made Egypt his personal domain, Rome's breadbasket and treasury. He barred senators from entering without permission, ensuring no rival could seize its wealth or raise an army there. Egypt became the emperor's private estate, tightly controlled from the top. Augustus imposed a strict bureaucracy focused on taxation. Egypt was divided into nomes, each run by a Roman strategos. Local elites were co-opted for administration, bearing heavy burdens to meet tax quotas. This system maximized revenue for Rome, often at great cost to Egyptians. Alexandria, once a royal capital, became a provincial seat under Rome. Still a vital trade hub, it was denied self-governance, fueling resentment among its Greek elite. Only centuries later did the city gain a council, reflecting Rome's deep mistrust of its volatile population. Egypt's security relied on a permanent Roman garrison, initially 3 legions, later reduced but always formidable. The prefect of Egypt commanded these forces, preventing any senator from seizing military power. The legions, supported by auxiliaries, ensured the emperor's grip on the province. Roman soldiers in Egypt did more than fight. They enforced tax collection, maintained order, and built infrastructure. Their engineering skills supported agriculture and public works, but their presence also reminded Egyptians that their land now served Rome's interests above all. While internal security was a primary concern, the Roman army in Egypt was also tasked with defending the province's vast and challenging frontiers. To the west lay the vast expanse of the Libyan desert, home to nomadic tribes who could threaten the scattered oases and the western edge of the Nile Valley. To the east, the Arabian desert posed a similar threat, but the most significant and active frontier was to the south, in the region known as Nubia, or Kush. Here the Romans inherited a long-standing border conflict from the Ptolemies with the powerful kingdom of Meroe, a sophisticated civilization centered further up the Nile. Shortly after the Roman conquest in 25 BC, the Meroitic queen, known as the Candace Amanirenas, launched a major raid into southern Egypt, attacking Roman garrisons at Syene and Philae and even carrying off a bronze head from a statue of Emperor Augustus. The Roman response was swift and brutal. The prefect Gaius Petronius led a punitive expedition deep into Nubia, sacking the city of Napata and forcing the Meroites to sue for peace. Following this campaign, a permanent and heavily fortified southern border was established at Hiera Sykaminos, marking the limit of direct Roman control and creating a buffer zone between the province and the Meroitic kingdom. The Roman arrival layered a new, rigid hierarchy onto Ptolemaic Egypt's existing social pyramid. Roman citizens, a small group of officials, officers and veterans, sat at the apex. They held power and exemptions, residing mainly in Alexandria and fortresses. Their position demonstrated Roman authority. Below them were the Greeks, the Hellenized elite of cities like Alexandria. They retained privileges, dominating civic life and holding administrative positions. This intermediary class maintained status between Roman rulers and the Egyptian population. The economy of Roman Egypt was utterly dominated by agriculture. The annual flooding of the Nile River deposited fertile silt, creating an agricultural paradise. The Romans focused on maximizing production and perfecting the system of collection. They maintained the irrigation canals to ensure a bountiful harvest. The primary product was grain, specifically wheat and barley. Egypt's grain production was the principal reason for its immense value to the Roman Empire. This grain was transported down the Nile to Alexandria, where it was stored in massive granaries before being shipped to Rome. This grain fleet was the lifeline that fed the capital's massive population. Beyond its agricultural might, Roman Egypt was a vibrant center of industry and a crucial hub for international trade. The city of Alexandria was not just the exit point for Egyptian grain. It was also a major manufacturing center in its own right. Its workshops produced high-quality glass, fine linens, pottery, and luxury items like perfumes and jewelry. The papyrus industry, centered in the Delta, was a near monopoly, supplying the paper equivalent to the entire Roman world for its administrative records, literature, and personal correspondence. These industries, combined with the processing of agricultural goods, made the province an economic powerhouse that exported finished goods as well as raw materials. Egypt's unique geographical position, bridging the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, made it the gateway for Rome's lucrative trade with the East. Goods from Arabia, India, and even as far as China flowed into the Red Sea ports of Myos, Hormos and Berenice. From there, caravans, protected by the Roman military, trekked across the eastern desert to the Nile, where the goods were transferred to boats and floated downriver to Alexandria. Spices like pepper and cinnamon, silks, precious gems, and exotic animals were brought west, while Roman goods like wine, metalwork and glass were sent east. This trade brought immense wealth into the province, and, well, the customs duties collected on it were a significant source of revenue for the emperor's treasury. When Rome conquered Egypt, it did not impose its own gods. The Romans were generally tolerant in religious matters. They encountered a pantheon of gods that had been worshipped along the Nile for 3,000 years. Life continued to revolve around the worship of their ancient deities. Gods like Horus, Thoth, and Sobek remained central to the spiritual life of the villages and towns in the Nile Valley. The local temples continued to function much as they had under the pharaohs. These were not just places of worship, but also major economic and cultural centers. The priesthood continued to perform the ancient daily rituals. For the ordinary Egyptian, these temples were the tangible link to the divine. The old ways were resilient. The Romans introduced the imperial cult, a state-sponsored veneration of the emperor, fostering loyalty across the empire. In Egypt, this cult built upon the tradition of the divine ruler. Temples were dedicated to emperors, and priests oversaw their worship. This practice was a mandatory expression of political allegiance, demonstrating loyalty to Rome. The cult was prominent in Alexandria, fused with the worship of the goddess Roma. Festivals and sacrifices were held in the emperor's honor, reinforcing the empire's might. Participation in the imperial cult was a crucial part of public life, a statement that all were subjects of the divine emperor. Among the deities worshipped in Roman Egypt, Isis achieved widespread popularity across the entire Roman Empire. Isis was the great mother goddess. Under the Romans, her cult became a major international religion. She was seen as a universal savior, a compassionate mother who offered her followers protection and rebirth. Her cult was a mystery religion, meaning its central rituals were revealed only to initiates. Temples to Isis, known as Iseums, sprang up in port cities and urban centers. Her iconography, the goddess nursing her infant son, became one of the most recognizable religious images of the age. The Roman conquest of Egypt did not bring an end to the grand tradition of temple building that had defined the landscape of the Nile Valley for millennia. Instead, the early Roman emperors, particularly those of the Julio-Claudian and Flavian dynasties, embraced this tradition as a powerful tool of statecraft. They continued the practice of the Ptolemaic kings before them, funding the construction and completion of magnificent temples dedicated to the ancient Egyptian gods. This architectural patronage served a crucial political purpose. By acting as pious pharaohs, Roman emperors legitimized their rule in the eyes of the Egyptian people and the influential native priesthood, seamlessly inserting themselves into a 3,000-year-old lineage of divine kingship and cosmic stewardship. These temples were built in a purely traditional Egyptian style, almost indistinguishable from those of the New Kingdom or Ptolemaic eras. They featured massive pylons, open-air courtyards, hyper-style halls with towering columns, and dimly lit inner sanctuaries. The walls were covered in intricate hieroglyphic inscriptions and detailed reliefs carved according to the ancient artistic canons. However, a closer look reveals the new reality of Roman power. Amidst the images of Horus, Isis and Amun-Ra, the figure of the Roman emperor appears, depicted in the full regalia of a pharaoh, wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt and making offerings to the gods, a visible statement of continuity and control. The Roman period witnessed the final flourishing of monumental Egyptian temple construction, a last great burst of architectural energy before the old religion began its slow decline. These structures stand today as some of the best preserved temples in all of Egypt, precisely because they were the last to be built. The Temple of Horus at Edfu, though primarily a Ptolemaic construction, was finally completed under Roman rule. Its massive scale, perfect preservation, and the completeness of its inscriptions provide an unparalleled window into the religious and architectural world that the Romans inherited and, for a time, chose to sustain. It represents the culmination of centuries of pharaonic architectural evolution sponsored by Greek and Roman masters. Further south, near the traditional border of Egypt and Nubia, lies the island of Philae, a sacred site dedicated to the goddess Isis. The Romans added significantly to the existing temple complex, which became one of the most important pilgrimage centres in the entire empire. The Kiosk of Trajan, an elegant and unfinished pavilion with towering floral columns, remains one of the most iconic images of Roman Egypt. It was a gateway to the sanctuary of Isis, a place where the Roman emperor honoured the most beloved of the Egyptian goddesses, whose cult was by then captivating followers across the Mediterranean world, from the shores of Egypt to the city of Rome itself. The first centuries of Roman rule in Egypt were characterized by stability and systematic exploitation. Following the chaos of the late Ptolemaic era, the Pax Romana brought an end to conflict. The province settled into a rhythm, governed by the emperor's prefect and legions. This peace allowed agriculture and trade to flourish. Augustus's administrative machinery ensured grain ships sailed on time and tax revenues flowed into the treasury, solidifying Egypt's role as the empire's economic bedrock. Cultural toleration allowed ancient religious traditions to continue. Temples were maintained with imperial funds, and emperors were depicted as pharaohs. The Roman tax system siphoned off the province's wealth, burdening the peasant farmers. The relative calm of the first 2 centuries came to an abrupt end in the 3rd century, a period known as the Crisis of the 3rd Century that shook the entire Roman Empire to its foundations. Decades of civil war, rapid turnover of emperors, rampant inflation, and barbarian invasions on the frontiers created widespread instability. Egypt was not immune to this chaos. The province suffered from military usurpations, economic disruption, and new external threats. The firm grip that the central government in Rome had held over the province began to weaken, and the carefully calibrated system of administration and exploitation started to break down under the immense pressure of the empire-wide crisis. One of the most significant threats came from the south and east. The Blemis, a nomadic people from the eastern desert, began to launch increasingly bold raids into the Nile Valley, threatening towns and disrupting trade routes. In the 260s, the short-lived Palmyrene Empire, based in Syria and led by the warrior Queen Zenobia, briefly seized control of Egypt, severing it from Roman authority. The Roman Emperor Aurelian eventually reconquered the province, but these events shattered the illusion of impenetrable security that had defined the early Roman period. The military had to be reconfigured to deal with these new, more mobile threats, and the sense of permanent stability was lost for good. The reforms of the emperors Diocletian and Constantine at the turn of the 4th century marked the beginning of a new era, often termed later Roman or Byzantine Egypt. The province underwent a radical administrative overhaul. Egypt was divided into several smaller provinces, breaking its monolithic unity and bringing it more in line with the rest of the empire. The old distinction between the emperor's personal province and senatorial provinces was abolished. A new, more complex bureaucracy was put in place, and the military and civil commands were separated. This was a fundamental reshaping of the government, moving away from the Augustan model towards the structure of the later Byzantine state. The most profound transformation of this period was the rise of Christianity. After centuries of persecution, Emperor Constantine's conversion in the early 4th century made Christianity the favoured religion of the empire. In Egypt, this shift was embraced with fervent enthusiasm. The church grew rapidly in wealth and power, developing a strong hierarchical structure under the authority of the powerful bishop or pope of Alexandria. Monasticism, a new form of intense religious devotion, was born in the Egyptian deserts, with charismatic figures like St. Anthony attracting thousands of followers who sought to renounce the world for a life of prayer and asceticism. Egypt became a heartland of Christian thought and spirituality. Roman rule in Egypt wasn't a simple replacement, but a lasting transformation. The legions of Augustus absorbed a civilization, recognizing the immense value of its new prize. Rome imposed a rigid system of governance to extract wealth. Grain, gold and porphyry flowed from the Nile Valley, reshaping the Egyptian economy. This new order was built upon military power. The Roman garrison enforced the peace, protected tax collectors and engineered infrastructure. This brought stability, but it was dictated by a foreign master serving Rome's interests above all else. The story of Roman Egypt is not merely one of what Rome did to Egypt, but also of what Egypt gave to Rome. The influence flowed both ways, and the treasures that the empire received were not just material. The most immediate and tangible gift was, of course, the grain. The annual shipment from Alexandria was the lifeblood of the capital, the foundation of the emperor's ability to maintain social order and political power. But Egypt also gave the Roman world papyrus, the essential medium for communication, administration, and literature. It provided the empire with exquisite glass, fine linens, and the hard, beautiful stones that became the ultimate symbols of imperial luxury and permanence, shaping the very look and feel of the city of Rome. Beyond these material goods, Egypt exported its gods. The cults of Isis and Serapis, nurtured in the multicultural crucible of Hellenistic and Roman Egypt, became international phenomena. They offered a brand of personal, emotional and salvific religion that proved immensely appealing across the vast and diverse empire. In a world often characterized by impersonal state cults, the mysteries of Isis provided a sense of community, divine compassion, and the promise of an afterlife. The spread of these Egyptian cults throughout the Mediterranean prepared the Roman mind for new religious ideas from the East, creating a spiritual landscape in which another faith, Christianity, would eventually find purchase and flourish. The 7 centuries of Roman dominion mark a pivotal bridge in Egypt's narrative. This era signals the definitive end of the pharaonic world, a civilization that had endured for 3 millennia. The Roman conquest integrated the Nile Valley into the Mediterranean world. Yet even as ancient traditions faded, new forms of expression emerged, none more evocative than the haunting Fayum portraits. Painted nearly 2,000 years ago, the Fayum portraits are among the most vivid and personal relics of Roman Egypt. Created between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD, these lifelike images adorned the faces of mummified bodies, bridging the worlds of the living and the dead. They are found mostly in the Fayum region, west of the Nile, but their influence spread across the land. The artists who crafted these portraits used the encaustic technique, mixing coloured pigments with hot beeswax and applying them to wooden panels. This method allowed for remarkable depth, luminosity and durability. The result? Eyes that seem to gaze across centuries, skin tones that glow with life, and expressions that capture individuality and emotion. The wooden panels, often made from native sycamore or imported cedar, were carefully prepared. Artists layered rich colours, reds, ochres and deep blacks, using fine brushes and heated tools. Gold leaf sometimes adorned jewellery or clothing, highlighting the status of the deceased. Each portrait was unique, a testament to the sitter's identity, wealth and aspirations. The people depicted in the Fayum portraits were a blend of cultures, Egyptian, Greek, Roman and others, reflecting the cosmopolitan world of Roman Egypt. Their hairstyles, clothing and jewellery reveal shifting fashions and social status. Some wear traditional Egyptian amulets, while others display Roman togas or Greek-style tunics. The portraits capture a society in transition where ancient beliefs mingled with new customs. These images were not mere decorations. They served a profound funerary purpose, attached to the mummified bodies and placed in tombs. The portraits were meant to preserve the memory and presence of the deceased, ensuring recognition in the afterlife. They are a poignant fusion of Egyptian spiritual tradition and Greco-Roman realism. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of these portraits, often remarkably well preserved by the dry desert sands. Each discovery is a moment of connection, a face from antiquity meeting the gaze of the modern world. Today, the Fayum portraits are displayed in museums across the globe. celebrated for their artistry and humanity. Art historians regard the Fayum portraits as the earliest true-to-life painted portraits in history. Their influence echoes through the centuries, inspiring later traditions of portraiture in both East and West. They remind us that beneath the trappings of empire and the passage of time, the desire to be remembered, to be seen, remains universal. The language of administration shifted, and hieroglyphics slowly faded. The Roman period represents a profound break with the past, a closing of the door on ancient Egypt. The ruins of Roman fortresses stand in the desert. Temples completed under Roman patronage are preserved in detail. But in the Fayum portraits, the faces of a lost world endure, silent, watchful, and alive. The Fayum mummy portraits reveal the faces of the multicultural elite, a symbol of cultural fusion. In their gaze, we glimpse the enduring echoes of a world transformed, where Egypt's ancient soul met the new realities of Rome, and where art became a bridge across time.